The news tells us that it's cheaper to rent than it is to buy. I love to show people the real numbers because at the end of the day, math doesn't lie. It is more expensive overall comparatively to several years ago. But guess what? In real estate, that's always the case. It always gets more expensive except for during times of a crash. I can't even say recession because usually during recessionary timeframes, which we're about to enter into if we're not already in one right now, housing usually stays very strong through recessions. Now, I've made several other videos that kind of track what home prices do. If you look past 100 years, I think it's like all except for like 4 or 5 of those 100 years in real estate, we saw home values increase, right? There was a handful of years where they went down because of the crash of '08 and some other stuff. But in the end of the day, buying always makes more sense because it creates more wealth for you. So I wanted to share with you some actual numbers. This is for Gilbert, Arizona, a price of $450,000 on what we can expect home values to do over the next 7 years. Because I think on average, when somebody buys a house, they're typically there for about 7 years. So I factored in the cost of renting versus buying in Gilbert, Arizona, considering a $450,000 house, and what that would do. Right out the gates, we see a lot of red, a lot of green, and it's just kind of a confusing thing. The first one you'll see is net gain by buying a home, $116,794. Could you use an extra $100,000 in the next 7 years? Absolutely, who couldn't? Here is where we dive into it. So if you look at the actual cost in renting, over the course of 7 years, if you were to rent a property out for a house that's worth about $450K, you'd be spending around $282,000 total out of pocket. And guess what? When you're renting at the end of that 7-year period, what do you have to show for it? Literally nothing. You have to go find another rental and keep spending that money over and over and over. With a mortgage, we apply the same concept, but now you're paying monthly to a mortgage payment every single month, and you're actually going to be spending more. So I'm already talking you out of it, right? It's already more expensive to buy a house because it's gonna cost you just over $15,000 over the course of 7 years comparing to renting. That's total money spent out of pocket. But here's where the difference is. Remember at the end of that 7 years when you're renting, what do you have to show for it? Nothing, no extra money, nothing. It's not your house, you've just been renting it. Well, after 7 years on a house that you own, if you decided to sell it, you'd make $116,794. Again, that's the net. Keep in mind, the difference is just over 15, but at the end of the day, you have something that's worth about $100,000. So it's gonna give you just over $100,000 in 7 years compared to nothing. So, does it make more sense to buy or to rent? At the end of 7 years of renting, you have no money, nothing to work with. At the end of 7 years of buying, potentially would have $100,000 to use to buy another house, a rental property, reinvest it in the house, do some renovations, have it be worth even more. The options are unlimited because guess what? It's your money. You own the house. You can do whatever you want to it. You could build a bar in it. Actually, I paid cash for this. If you look at the first couple of years, absolutely, yeah. With home values not on the highest point right now, we're not going to see a ton of appreciation. But what this does is it allows you the opportunity, especially if you're low on funds right now. Because right now, so many people are waiting for interest rates to come down. And when they do, it's gonna open up another frenzy like we saw in 2020 and 2021, where you've got 10 to 20 people trying to buy the same house and it drives the price up. That's not quite happening right now. So you still have an opportunity to use a down payment assistance loan or get in with very, very little money out of pocket. I've got tons of other videos, and that's the bulk of what I do, is helping people get into houses for very, very little money out of pocket. If you don't have much money, now is your window. If you'd like to explore your options and see what you potentially could qualify for, whatever your excuse is, I know how to fix it or show you what you would need to do in order to make homeownership a reality for you. Let's take 10 to 15 minutes, get on my website, fill out a quick inquiry form, we'll have a conversation, talk about your goals, what your stumbling blocks might be, and we'll help make homeownership a reality for you.